This is Average Sports.
By your average guys.
Eric.
And Ty. That would be so bad.
Yeah. This is Average Sports.
Your average sports.
Average Sports.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of
You're listening to Average Sports with your average guys.
Average Sports, average guys, Eric and Ty.
Well, it took a little longer than what we said. I think we did a brief intro to what this episode was going to be, 2 weeks ago? It just took a minute, that's all. Like all of 2020. But you are tuned into another... It is okay. You're tuned into another episode of Average Sports with your average guys. I'm Ty, and got Eric here with us. What's up, Eric?
Hey, man. I'm excited for this episode. You know why? I don't care that it took us a couple extra days.
Sure.
Because those couple extra days are giving this time to sit here and take in all the sports that are going on.
Right.
Just constantly. It is nonstop. I mean, hockey started at 11 a.m. yesterday and today. It was awesome.
I do. Yeah, that's really awesome. You can pretty much bank on, if you ask the question, is a game on right now? The answer is yes. We haven't had that now in months. So pretty cool stuff. And let's get into it. I mean, some things that have been happening, some real sports content that we can talk about, still amidst the COVID pandemic. So, of course, that's an underlying theme to everything that we'll talk about. Like in the MLB first week, that's all it took for games to start getting postponed. The Marlins, Cardinals, what's going on over in the MLB?
Oh my! Well, I mean, the MLB is not doing a great job of regulating their players. They just recently changed some language that was quote unquote strongly discouraged the players from leaving the hotel to prohibited. It's like, why was that even something that had to be discussed? Because now COVID-19 has run rampant through two organizations, the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals, both because members of their team and staff decided that they had to go out and visit nightclubs and casinos.
Seems responsible.
So I'm a little disappointed in them doing it, but MLB is pushing forward because they want that TV revenue and money. So they really don't care. It's all
Eric,
about the
do you
almighty
see
dollar.
why I wasn't that enthusiastic a few weeks back when we were talking about this? Does it start to make sense now?
I mean, it does make a little bit of sense, but, it's a little disappointing that your St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, man, it is disappointing, but I'm glad I didn't really get the hype up. I mean, I was going to wait to just see if they could even fit all 60 games in, which clearly they cannot. I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're supposed to start doing like double head. Now, I mean, the benefit is they're only playing, these NL and AL Central teams. So, I mean, they have a lot of opportunities to do a bunch of double headers. And they said in August they're going to start doing that to make up games for the Marlins and the Cardinals about the teams that they were going to play. But, at the end of the day, I got to be honest, man, it almost feels like these two teams should have to forfeit these games for the fact that it's their actions that caused them to get this in the first place.
No argument there.
It's not like they, hey, we ordered some food and guy brought it and he happened to have it and blah, blah, blah. No, you guys were out, partaking in social things that you shouldn't have been doing. It's just one of those jobs that they have that they need to be on the clock 24/7. And poor old little baseball players making a boatload of money. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy.
Okay. Well, yeah, that they knew the risk going into that. Let's change it over to something a little more entertaining and really about the sports. The MLS playoffs have been fantastic. My favorite was Cincinnati. They didn't go too far, but they went the distance against Portland. They lost in PKs. Really good to see them, though. However, in the Final Four, Minnesota made it out there. First-year team, so congrats to that club. And, yeah, the MLS tournament looking good. I think there's only a couple games left before we crown a champion. So
there will be a total of 3 games left.
Boom.
So that's a little highlight for preview for what's to come. Maybe in our best games to watch section. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We got 3 games left to watch for the MLS. One of the highlights for me, I was watching. It was the Vancouver Whitecaps versus Sporting KC, and Vancouver had their backup keeper Tomas Hasel.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correct, but he was the backup, keeper for the Whitecaps and absolutely had just a game of his life. The Whitecaps were completely outmatched by Sporting KC, and he kept them in the game, got them to PKs, and, Sporting KC eventually won that particular game. But just a highlight and shout out to him. He played a phenomenal game if you had a chance to watch it. So
Love it.
It was very, very good.
All right, switching back to baseball, though, real quick. There was a bench clearing game. Only like the second game of the season or third game? Either way, it was between the Dodgers and Houston Astros, which we all kind of anticipated that the Astros would have some animosity going into it. Right. The beanballs were flying that day, and then even the pitcher, it was Joe Kelly on the mound for the Dodgers, and he got stepped on at first base, so it was this very interesting back and forth between the two clubs. And then, of course, it escalated, and they cleared, as does happen sometimes in baseball, but it was very different because they kind of had masks on when they were supposed to, and they're jawing at each other, but kind of keeping distant. It was awkward, but the best part of it all was Kelly's face. His facial expression.
God, his little pouty face.
Oh, yeah. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely worth looking up. The Dodgers-Houston brawl of early August, end of July. Yeah. Got to check it out. That was a highlight.
It was definitely a unique set of circumstances that led to that. It was kind of Joe Kelly's fault he got stepped on in the first place. He shouldn't have had his foot there where he did. He had it, at the part of the base that was down the line where a runner always steps. So it's kind of his own fault that he got stepped on there.
Do you think the step was intentional?
No, not based on where his foot was. Okay. If his foot was on the inside, where a first baseman always puts their foot, or a pitcher knows to put his foot, then that would have been intentional. But it was down. It was on the line, very specifically where runners, 90% of the time are stepping, like right there. They're either stepping like right on top of the bag or like right before it, and that's where his foot was. And so that was kind of his own fault for that. Right. However, he definitely intentionally threw at the Dodgers quite a few times.
Well, we're taking some time on this segment, but a last piece of the kind of sports roundup here for us, the way we like to kick off the show, is do you smell what the XFL is cooking, Eric? I've been waiting to say that.
Man,
the XFL is going to be back.
I'm so excited. I was a little nervous at first, like hearing, not because it was The Rock and his group, his ex-wife that helped purchase the XFL for a low $15 million. I thought it would have gone for more than that. But it was the fact that I wasn't really sure what they were going to do. But then reading some of his tweets, it seems relatively clear from that he is wanting to bring back the XFL, and they're going to try and figure out how to do it, hopefully for 2021, given the pandemic gives in, but we'll see. But it sounds like the XFL is going to be back, and I'm super excited about that. So go Battlehawks.
There we go. Okay, let's get into more of the meat and potatoes of the show, and we have two seasons. Well, the two sports well into their seasons. We've been talking about it now for months, and it is finally at the point of returning, or it has returned. The NHL, the NBA, we are nearing those playoffs. So the hockey was beginning with their round robin seeding procedure, and those games are underway. And the NBA, same deal. They are securing their final playoff spots. So we are on that precipice of some real playoff hockey and basketball. I cannot wait for that to begin. But right now, what we're seeing are these bubbles in Canada and then in Orlando for the NBA. They're working.
Yeah, they're 100% working. The NHL is actually already in their playoffs. It's only the top four teams that are doing their round robin. Everyone else is
and that's already played.
Series.
Yeah, that played out.
Yeah. The NBA is doing their seeding games, and they're in the bubble, and it is beyond working. We just poo-pooed on baseball for not doing this right and making it very apparent very quickly that they screwed this up. Whereas hockey just reported, it was Saturday or Sunday, that in phase 4, after all their testing, they've had 0 COVID-19 positive tests from their players, their staff members, doctors, anybody inside the bubble. I didn't see the NBA numbers, but I'm also willing to bet that it's incredibly low, and same for MLS. These bubbles are working for what they were designed to do. Now, obviously, this isn't a long-term fix, and you can't necessarily have an entire sports season based this way, but to fit in the rest of the 2019-2020 seasons for these sports, it is working very well, and I think the presentation is, knocked out of the park here. I think they've all done a great job.
Oh, and even the stadium setup. So, on paper, it seems like, it's going to be cheesy that you're going to pipe in some audience noise, crowd noise, or you're going to put in, different cutouts. I mean, if you haven't seen the way the NHL arenas are set up, I think it's actually really well done and thought out. It's something that's aesthetic and it just looks right for a television presentation as well. So they really did, there was some back end work to make all this happen.
Yeah, I think it's, the NHL is actually the only one of the three bubble cities it's playing in a professional venue.
Sure.
The NBA is not playing in an NBA arena in Orlando. They're playing at the Worldwide of Sports, and it's just, it has minor stands for the people that are there, but it's meant to be like these sports tournaments for like high schools.
Yeah.
So I mean, these arenas aren't really that big. They're definitely not professional.
No,
size.
so the crowd noise is there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pumping in some crowd noise into the NBA, actually on the arena. Hockey, they're not doing that. It is on the broadcast, but it's not being pumped into the arena. There's some music and stuff for the arena, but the crowd noise, it doesn't. I think that's just on the broadcast. But either way, the NHL had a lot more background work, I think, to do, setting up an actual professional arena versus the other two. Just make sure they could make it look good. Now, the NBA's, I think, also done a really good job as far as presentation and having the screens and the fans there. And then, every now and then, like I was watching the Celtics game the other night, and like Paul Pierce was like in one of the seats, like on the screen. So,
yeah.
They've done a great job.
No, with the NBA, you have these large LED screens in the background of fans that are being virtually presented. So I think that's pretty cool too, just to give some of these like larger than life faces that are part of the backdrop. And if you're an advertiser as well, you get a lot of banner space. So, just my 2 cents there on that. I think it's working out in a lot of people's favor. We're getting sports back, and there's some neat and new novel ways of how we get to consume them as well. So how about the actual sports, though, themselves? The NBA was off in a pretty exciting way. There was a couple of overtime games in the first weekend, some great starts of close games in the first couple. And, your reactions on that, I'm interested to hear, Merrick.
Yeah, the NBA could not have started, I think, better. They had a great matchup, especially the first night. The marquee matchup was the Clippers and the Lakers. Lakers pulled it out at the end there, 103-101. But the other game was Jazz Pelicans. That went down to the last seconds as well, too. 106-104 for the Jazz. And then, like you were saying, that Friday night, there were several good games. They were all high scoring. No one had any defense. The lowest points scored between 6 games was 112. The lowest was 112 points. This is like the NBA All-Star game. No one played defense.
No one's going to be physical,
But the one that you were really excited about was that Mavericks-Rockets game that ended 153-149. I mean, just so much excitement. It was.
What they're doing?
A lot of fun. The NBA is doing a great job. They're getting these good matchups.
Yeah.
And, which is great for the fans that are tuning in and watching these. And the NHL has done a phenomenal job as well, too, with that. There's been a lot of intensity in these games, and they have, really knocked out of the park. I mean, the Rangers and the Hurricanes were the ones to open up the NHL season on Saturday. And within the first couple of minutes, there was a fight. High intensity, just right off the bat between those two teams. And it just carried over into all the other games. It feels very much like playoff hockey, which I think a lot of people may have been a little worried about, that there weren't fans there, that it wasn't going to feel the same. And I think, they've done a great job of ensuring that it does.
Yep, I think very well said. With the high-scoring basketball, I think those guys just want to keep their distance from each other. That's what's really going on. And then moving on with the show, we got a Who You Got segment. It's good to get back into this and really talk about sports, but it's still going to be COVID-related because, of course, why not? It's the year of the COVID. But you